Hello, welcome to Shad Life. Finally, a nice day out, and hopefully, we get a few in a row so the trails dry out and I can actually get out and ride that thing. So, I want to talk about the changes I made because if you saw my first review, which was a long video because I went into a lot of detail about this bike, um, this next video that I do at some point here within the next week, um, I will have some, decent changes. So let's talk about those. Okay, so one part is extremely obvious, and you can't really deny that it doesn't match, and that is I put my 140 millimeter DVO Sapphire fork on here. That fork is way nicer. And so I weighed the other fork, which is a RockShox 35 coil fork, and I weighed the two, and this fork is a pound and a half lighter, so I shaved some weight there. And then the next thing I did is I changed out the wheels. So these are Hunt Trail Wide 29-inch front and rear. This front one is from a mullet setup that I had where I had a 29 front, 27.5 rear, but in this case I actually ordered a 29-inch rear for this bike because I want to keep all the mileage and speed and all that correct on here. If I ran 27.5, I'd throw that all off, and I haven't figured out a way to change that. So if you know, describe it in the comments or link to something in the comments. But yeah, I don't know how to change the wheel diameter in the settings, so until I can figure that out, I'll just run a 29 on the rear. So this is a Butcher tire. This is tubeless now. The wheels that came on this bike were not tubeless compatible. They were super heavy, and they came with Maxxis Recon, like the most low-end version of Recons you can get. They're wire bead 2.4. These are 2.6s, and Recons they're okay, but they're not as grippy as like these tires. Like the Butcher's a pretty good tire. I've ran this, as you can see. It's probably been the Cuyuna a few times because it's got red on it. But yeah, so I have this one on the front, and then I actually saw this tire at REI, so I got it because it's pretty aggressive. It's actually e-bike rated. Not super heavy. I was actually surprised. I thought it would be a super heavy tire, but it wasn't, so I got it. Also tubeless, and a brand new Hunt Trail Wide 29-inch rear wheel. Hunt really, they're nice wheels. They're light, strong, and one thing I like is they come pre-taped, and then they have a really nice valve. They actually give you the valves. They come pre-taped, so they're all set for tubeless, and then they have this shape in here so you can take the core out if you need to, if it gets gunked up or something. So yeah, Hunt for the price, amazing. So yeah, so new wheels and fork is really all I've switched. I am going to switch out the pedals. As good as these look, they actually don't grip that well. I was kind of surprised, so I'm going to just put grippier pedals on when I take this out on the trail, which will hopefully be soon. And so the whole thing here, switching out all these parts, the fork and the wheels, has taken off about 6.5 pounds on this bike. That's a lot of weight. And yes, the bike is still heavy, so it's probably just under 50 pounds now. So yeah, it's an e-bike. It's heavy, but it's way more tolerable now than it was before. I mean, 6 pounds is a lot of weight, and it makes the bike easier to throw around, especially being that most of that weight was wheel weight. And if you saw my first video, you'll see that I talked about how wheel weight, the heavier your wheels are, the more they want to stay upright and in line, and they don't like to change direction, and that makes a bike much less agile, which can be good in some cases. Like think downhill, like they have heavier wheels, heavier tires, everything. Well, they want their bike to be as super stable, but in the case like how I ride a bike and where I ride a bike, I don't really need that kind of stability. I like more agility over stability. So yeah, this bike's, I pedaled around a little bit in this configuration, but hopefully I'll get out on the trails soon and get another review with some upgrades and see what my opinion is like for single track. I just can tell I just was riding my low side single speed for single track and off-road riding. For commuting, this bike is absolutely astonishing. I love it. And what I'm probably going to do, if this does turn out to be a good off-road bike, it's certainly not going to replace my regular mountain bikes. But if it does, then what I probably will do is set up the other wheels with discs and a cassette and those Recon tires, and I'll just swap the wheels out. So when I want to commute with it, I'll use the stock wheels. And then when I want to go off-road, I'll put these wheels on there. That's probably kind of the direction I'm thinking, because switching out wheels only takes a couple minutes, especially if you have them all set up, right? So there. Motor is amazing. Aventon really did their homework on this. This one does have that clunking, so I might contact them about that. That's kind of been an issue and something people have been talking about. Aside from just being annoying, it seems pretty harmless, but it is kind of annoying to be riding the trail and having this like sound. So yeah, and I'll go over all the settings at some point, but we can just briefly look at the screen here once it comes on. A lot of sun, so I don't know how well you can see this, but you've got Eco, Trail, and Turbo. And honestly, I've been riding it almost completely in Eco, and that's plenty of power. And then there's an app where you can go tweak all the settings for each of the modes, which is super nice. And I'll talk about that in another video, but it's pretty cool. And then there's a feature where you can press and hold the bottom button if you do have to get off and walk up a hill or something, and it puts it in walk mode, which is kind of nice. So super cool. Another thing I've noticed is when it's not in any mode, when the modes are off, you're just pedaling around the bike, there's no extra resistance. It just pedals like a normal bike. Granted, it's a very heavy normal bike. So I'd be curious, maybe I'll try that sometime, to take the battery out and just ride it like a normal bike and just see how it rides in that sense. There's a shocker, an airplane. So there you have it, the Aventon Ramblas. If you've been following my channel, you know I always do this. I'll buy a stock bike and then start tweaking it to see if I can improve it, and this is another fun experiment. So stay tuned. I appreciate your support for my channel. Please like and subscribe. Peace.